It is Friday, May 17th, 2019. It is 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and so you know what time it is. It's time for a little bit of coin metal. And my deepest apologies, I know I came on a few minutes late here, but I had to get a shower. It was certainly an exciting and educational get your ass kicked at Jiu-Jitsu Friday. We were covering some back escapes, and I really like back escapes, only because I think there's like this really big thrill you get when you take somebody's back and you got that seatbelt position and you're just like you're dying to get your choke in, or your lapel choke, or your zipper choke, or your rear naked choke. You're there, man. You got all these options. You could transition to the arm bar. You can transition to a reverse triangle on him. You could do all kinds of things. But when you're in that position, when you got somebody on your back, there are a multitude of escape methods as well. And so we were covering a little bit of that today. Mostly we covered blocking the hooks. Keeping those hooks from getting in is really, really important, because that's where the majority of your leverage comes from, and a lot of your control comes from when you're trying to get that choke or that arm bar or that transition. And so controlling the hips is key, and getting those hooks in is a big part of that. And so I really enjoyed that part of it, because that seems to be an issue with me, is that they will get a hook in, but my escape method, it actually relies on you getting your hook in. And I know that's kind of weird, but one of the escape methods, I should say, that I like to use is, if you've got your hooks in, right, what I like to do is on the arm that's under my arm, because you'll have a safety belt, position. So you got one arm over my left shoulder, one arm under my right arm, right? So I like to tuck that one and grab onto that wrist and just, keep it pressured so you can't really do anything with it, right? And usually I like to put that pressure right on the top of the overhand wrist. And so I'll roll over on that side, and what will happen is your knee will push the rest of your leg until your foot is not able to engage a hook. And so then I'll hook it with my left leg and pull it down and get you into the half guard, or start working towards that half guard position. And so yeah, that's my brute force method of getting out of a back take position. I do like the thing about getting one of the legs out, or keeping the hooks from happening, basically, and just flattening out one of the legs and scooting through on that one. And as a matter of fact, I employed that one the other day to get out, and it was pretty slick. Although I did this one today, and I swear I wish somebody was filming it. Oh, I mean, it was so nifty. I mean, like, it just blew my mind, man. I was just like, I was thinking about it as I was trying to do it. I'm just like, okay, I'll like scooch down with my hand, I'll push down on the top of the knee and just kind of sneak my butt out the other side, and then I'll grab it with my foot, and I don't even remember all the stuff that I did on this, but it's like I was feeling it in my mind, like a step ahead of my doing it. And I actually got commented today, like really commented, by one of the gentlemen that I rolled with. He was saying that he felt like everywhere he wanted to go, I was like one step ahead of him. And I gotta say, for this guy in particular, that was a really good compliment, not only because he's come quite a ways, but I mean, he's the guy that I've been telling you guys about, the one where I'll tell him something and then he'll use it on me, and it's like, fuck, why did I tell him that? Anyway, he's made a lot of strides in the last couple months with his jiu-jitsu, and so I told him, I go, dude, you keep it up the way you're going right now, and you'll get there, because he was saying, oh man, that's where I want to be with my jiu-jitsu. I'm like, dude, you're on the path. You're getting there. Just keep going the way you're going. And but it was really, really good to get that kind of compliment from him. But I did kind of dough-ball it on my sparring today. I felt like I wanted to be a little more in control today, and So I did back off on addressing higher belts. Although if I'd have seen Jorge, this one guy in there beforehand, I probably would have called him, because he's really, really, really good, and I always learn stuff when I'm training with him. So it's like, I would have picked him before the gentleman that I did roll with, but only because of the additional educational content. And not to say that I don't learn anything from being in control like that, but he did have me in a couple positions where I was not in control. He was clearly in the dominant position, and he was asserting himself very, very well. Nonetheless, it was one of those things where I would just pause for a moment, feel the pressure, and I even told him that trick too. Feel for the pressure. Where is the pressure? Where is the pressure lacking? You know, is there like one little thing you could do right now to change the pressure entirely? Is there one movement that you could do that would, you know, change the ability of your opponent to exert pressure on you? Or is there an opening that, you know, he's putting pressure on you one place, but there's an opening in another? There's a weak spot. You know, if you maybe lift your butt and kind of scooch out from under him or something like that, you'll create enough space to change the dynamic of the situation. And so, you know, that's one of the things that I do a lot with him, is because he moves just a little bit slower than I do, not really a lot slower, although, and on that point, he's been getting a little quicker on shifting his hips around, and I told him that during the review period. But anyway, he moves a little bit slower than I do, so it gives me an opportunity to really think out my next position, and I feel like that's kind of unfair on him, but at the same time, it gives me a body full of resistance to work those things out on. And there's one thing I caught him on today, or caught him doing on me today, that kind of surprised me, is that he's got like this innate fucking instinct to get that underhook. Every position that I chased him down into, he was immediately rolling in, getting in an underhook, and I was just like, damn it, you got an underhook again. And so it's like, that's the one thing he really surprised me on. It's like, what is it? It's an underhook. Damn it. But anyway, yeah, so it was back escapes, and a little bit of over the top kind of a back escape, where if somebody is addressing you from a turtle position, they don't necessarily have a hook in, but they're addressing, like, they got the weight on one of your hips, and they've got that seatbelt position, and just a little, it's what I was talking about earlier with, you know, if you can change just one little thing, that'll change the entire dynamic of the situation. And so, like, I was watching them, and because I was working with two other guys on this one, and one thing that the one gentleman did was he put his head on his hands. And I'm like, no. What you want to do is take your hands, put them to the sides of your head, drop your head down, and just give just a little bit of push, and then get up on your toes. Because if you give a little push on the ground, it'll give you enough gap to adjust your legs to where you can get up in a active position on your toes and pop your opponent right off the top of you. But, you know, I noticed that when they had their head on their hands, it changed something in the dynamic. Like, the head wasn't able to get far enough down to get that cantilever kind of effect off of the hips. And so that was one thing I was trying to show them, is just like, look, you just put the head down, give a little pressure on the ground with your wrists, or your hands rather, you know, like you're doing a push-up, and just pop up on your toes, and the person just flips right off your back. It's pretty cool. Anywho, let's go ahead and get into some music here, and as far as where to go first, you know, I saw this really neat looking bike today online, and somebody was bragging that they bought it with their crypto profits. And it's good to take profit now and then, but you never know. Somebody might be paying attention to what you've been posting. And so here we go. The Ski Mask Way, here on Coin Metal. First Dance. And that was 12-Foot Ninja with One Hand Killing. And before that, we had a little bit of Prong. For those of you who are not already there, Prong is playing right now. And very unfortunately, I was unable to go. You know, these things just happen, you know. What are you going to do? Anyway, I got some stuff here in my browser. And I'm not entirely sure which one I want to go with first, only because it seems like it seems like there's been a reoccurring instance of entities, government entities, talking about banning cryptocurrencies or Bitcoin in particular, and they usually come out the same way every time, where some finance minister or whatever will come out and say, oh, you know, we need to ban Bitcoin, you know, and we need to get rid of it. And then, of course, they change their tune as soon as they find out that one of their relatives is actually involved in cryptocurrency mining and or trading. And then they're just like, well, you know, maybe that's not such a good idea after all. Same fucking thing happens every time. And it's because there's money here. This is money. We're not talking about Furbies or pet rocks or anything like that. We're talking about money. And so it's a little bit different. Anyway, so I've got this on newsbtc.com. This time it's German politicians mulling a Bitcoin and crypto ban. This is by Rick D. So yes, penis. Recently, there has been an uptick in the numbers of notable people publicly discussing some form of ban on crypto assets such as Bitcoin. The latest comes from Germany, where one of the nation's left-wing parties is in favor of attempting to outlaw digital currency across Europe. The news follows similar calls by U.S. Congressman Brad Sherman and respected economist Joseph Stiglitz. Lacking technical backgrounds, however, it is unclear just how much any of these crypto critics have considered the logistics of enforcing such a ban. German leftist Die Linke call for a ban on Bitcoin and crypto. According to domestic tech and business news source Grunderzine, a left-wing German political party has just released its European parliamentary election campaign manifesto. The elections will be held on May 26 and is part of the Die Linke, the left, party's policies that are, quote, against an EU of millionaires. There is a plan to outlaw Bitcoin and other crypto assets. The main gripe against digital currencies appears to be on environmental grounds. The fact that some use a large amount of electricity is an issue for German leftists. This may seem that proof-of-stake digital coins and those using other consensus finding systems than proof-of-work are deemed permissible by the party. Like the others that have called for a ban on crypto assets like Bitcoin in recent weeks, Die Linke gives little explanation as to how it plans on achieving such a ban. Bitcoin is a decentralized network. There is no central weakness for the authorities to come after. Even if all of Europe outright banned it tomorrow, digital assets would survive. They might have to evolve to survive, becoming more stealthy and private, but that would only make them even more difficult to police. Interestingly, one of those calling for a ban recently, U.S. Congressman Brad Sherman, himself inadvertently stated exactly why Bitcoin would not die: the fact that it weakens U.S. hegemony. Sherman stated remarkably candidly that a large part of his nation's privileged position in the world comes from the fact that the U.S. dollar is used as a world reserve currency. The video of Brad Sherman's called ban Bitcoin is blah blah blah, but yeah, whatever. Bitcoin offers an alternative that many nations that are currently trying to reduce their dependence on the dollar might find attractive. This was the precise reason Sherman gave for wanting to, quote, nip Bitcoin in the bud. Given the nations such as Iran, North Korea, Russia, and China would all like U.S. dominance to wane significantly, it is incredibly difficult to believe that these states would join Europe or the U.S. in some clampdown against the currency. Those who understand how Bitcoin works also understand that only such a universal ban enforced equally around the world would stand any chance of success. Actually, that wouldn't even succeed. That said, even with global cooperation, wiping crypto assets from the face of the earth is still highly unlikely to succeed. Rather, more likely would be a scenario where a partial ban is attempted and Bitcoin goes underground by integrating privacy-focused upgrades rapidly. This would effectively stifle any legitimate use of the currency and transform it quickly into a drug-dealing, money-laundering, human trafficking megatool for international criminals and anyone else who refuses to endorse such draconian monopolistic policies. Damn Skippy. You know, and that's a point that I've talked about multiple times on this show, that, you know, you can try and ban Bitcoin. And it might actually work in your area, but the problem is that it's just your area. It's just within your minor realm of influence, and only for as long as the particular implementation of a negating effect actually works. You've got to remember that there are people motivated by money interested in maintaining these networks and continuing these currencies in existence and function. They are motivated to do so. They are incentivized to do so by their very investment. And it is not something that they will casually walk away from. And as I stated earlier, it's not enough that it's just us that's in it. It's not just us. There are Republicans, there are Democrats, there are Libertarians, there are anarchists all over the planet. Leftists, rightists, centrists, nationalists. They all love cryptocurrency. And they are probably all willing to use cryptocurrency to benefit their nation state. And I think this is a point that is just lost on so many people about what kind of influence their use of cryptocurrency actually means in the greater world economy. You know, I mean, some people would like to pretend that unless it's a case of outright theft or fraud, that they really have any recourse from the state. I mean, sure, the state will be willing to chase after some people, but if they don't have a means of stopping them or a means of capturing them, the activity can pretty much continue. And especially if it's not exactly illegal somewhere else, because they will find that somewhere else to do it, and they will do it there, and you will not be able to stop them. So rather than bothering trying to stop them, I think it's really time for national governments to start looking at cryptocurrencies as a means to truly participate in a international economy. You know, the idea of it all being transacted under one currency, it's not going to happen. There are too many different realms of influence for there to be one currency to be transacted amongst all of them. Because in some of those markets, certain items and commodities are not necessarily looked well upon. And just be an unwillingness of the people within those networks to transact those things, or in those ways. You know, and just as the United States government or any other government is incapable of stopping people from participating in cryptocurrencies, the ability of other people in cryptocurrencies to make you use their thing is non-existent as well. And the reputation of Bitcoin, you know, it's a lot to go on. You know, it's done a lot to be where it is. Whether or not it'll stay on its current course, I find doubtable, only because I've been around long enough to watch how this market expresses. And if people don't have a direct interest in what's going on, they tend to not pay attention to it. So like there's 1,000,001 projects out there that I don't even know the names of. I don't know their technical description or anything like that. Only because I haven't intersected with it, And usually it's something where I haven't bothered to look for it because I haven't necessarily needed it. Now, it's not to say that there aren't things out there that could make my life easier or that I can participate in, but I'm just unaware of them at the moment. There is that separation. However, there are things that people are doing out there that we're simply not interested in. Not interested in continuing. And that's one of the reasons why we're even involved in cryptocurrencies to begin with. Is that, or at least some of us. Some of us are just tag-alongs and don't really understand what they're doing here, but they're making money, so they're happy. But those of us that first came here into the cryptosphere, we were looking for an alternative to the existing system. And so maintaining the bad habits of the old system in the new system, it's not really in the interest of a lot of people here. And so as far as where we're going to go next, we extinguish that one. I saw this thing about Facebook, and I was keenly interested in it. Let's see, fake book, cryptocurrency. Yeah, they put something out about they've recently let up on their ban against cryptocurrencies, and I think that's a really interesting move. It's certainly in my book a kind of a precursor to what we could be expecting out of Facebook. Is that they're loosening up the regulation internally so that they're free to commercialize their shit to you as well. Now, I'm kind of curious about it, honestly, because there have been efforts to do things like this before, where you've probably heard about it, cryptojacking. There were a few websites that were engaging in cryptojacking, unbeknownst to their users initially, and then later when it was found out that was going on, because it seized all of people's fucking system resources. After that was found out, they're just like, yeah, we don't want to do that, so give us an opt-out. So the Pirate Bay and a few others had this scheme planned where they were going to be mining using your browser, and on your computer, and mining for themselves. Mining Monero specifically. And that they were going to do it all cloak and dagger and not bother to tell you about it. Because supposedly it was intended to be set to where you didn't even notice it. It's just running in the background, right? Well, there have been multiple efforts to try and legitimize this means of extracting wealth from you. If you're going to participate in mining, you should probably be willing, Otherwise, it's kind of like rape, I think. Anyway, I've done multiple episodes on cryptojacking. If you go on my YouTube channel, you can find those. Just look up cryptojacking with the magnifying glass thing, the search thing, and you'll be able to find it on my channel. Anyway, so I've been wondering whether or not Facebook intends to do that kind of thing, where if you have a tab running Facebook or having Facebook open on one of your tabs in your browser, that they'll be secretly mining behind the scenes. And that's just a curiosity on my point, only because that's the way that I've seen associations between websites and cryptocurrencies express so far. It doesn't necessarily mean that's the only way it's going to express. That's just been the way it has so far. Anyway, continuing on, I got this article here on Coindesk.com. Facebook registers secretive Libra cryptocurrency firm in Switzerland. And this is by John Biggs, authored May 17th, 2019 at 20:45 UTC. Thank you, John. But yes, penis. According to a Reuters report, Facebook registered a new company, Libra Networks, in Geneva on May 2nd. This coincides with the slow rollout of their internal cryptocurrency that will define the company's first foray into blockchain technology. Facebook Global Holdings is a stockholder in the new company, and it will, according to Reuters, provide financial technology services, develop related hardware and software, plans submitted on Swiss Register reveal. And you know, we might just go to that Reuters article if we can actually read it. Got this thing opening in a tab. Maybe? There's just one website that, for whatever reason, it does not want to load. Now I can't find the article that I was reading. Shish kebab. Here we go. Facebook Global Holdings is a stockholder. Yeah, we got that. Facebook's march towards crypto has been slow and steady. The company's latest move, the hiring of 2 Coinbase compliance managers, happened on May 14th. The Libra project has ruffled some feathers in Congress as well. U.S. lawmakers sent an open letter to the company seeking clarification on the currency's purpose and implications. They wrote, quote, "The Wall Street Journal recently reported that Facebook is recruiting dozens of financial firms and online merchants to help launch a cryptocurrency-based payment system using its social network. Last year, Facebook asked U.S. banks to share detailed financial information about their consumers, or about consumers. In addition, privacy experts have raised questions about Facebook's extensive data collection practices and whether any of the data collected by Facebook is being used for purposes that do or should subject Facebook to the Fair Credit Reporting Act." Facebook declined to comment on the new company. Recent rumors pointed to a tentative $1 billion raise to be used to build out the technology. That'll be kind of interesting. We'll definitely go there too. Anyway, I got this other one here, and that one is one that... There we go. This is one. I think this is really interesting because I don't think that the senators or Congress has any right dictating to Facebook how to run their business. You know, as long as they're not defrauding people or stealing people's money, I say game on. Now, I do find it objectionable the way that they monetize everybody's data, and they make money on it and they don't cut you in on it. I kind of object to that. But anyway, continuing on, this one's on CoinDesk as well. U.S. senators seek information on Facebook's Libra crypto project. And, you know, I want to check and verify, see if there's any links in here, because I want to see if we can find the direct thing to Facebook that kind of explains their project. Anyway, this is by Nicholas D., May 10th, 2019 at 1500 UTC. So yes, penis. The U.S. Banking Committee is clearly concerned about Facebook's new cryptocurrency project and how it is treating individuals' financial information. The Banking Committee wrote an open letter to Facebook founder and CEO Mark Zuckerberg Thursday, asking him to share details about his secret cryptocurrency project with a particular focus on consumer privacy. Quote, "Last year, Facebook asked U.S. banks to share detailed financial information about consumers," the letter says. In addition, the privacy experts have raised questions about Facebook's extensive data collection practices and whether any of the data collected by Facebook is being used for purposes that do or should subject Facebook to the Fair Credit Reporting Act. In light of these concerns, the committee wants Zuckerberg to outline how the Facebook cryptocurrency, referred to under the codename Project Libra, would work. and damn it, would work, and what outreach Facebook has done to financial regulators, and what users can expect in terms of privacy and consumer protection. More broadly, the committee has asked Facebook to share what consumer financial information has been shared by banks and other financial institutions, what Facebook does with that information, including whether that information is shared or sold to other third parties, whether Facebook has credit rating and other personal information about individuals, and how Facebook avoids violating Fair Credit Reporting Act. Little is known about Project Libra. The company quietly began building up a blockchain research team last year, headed up by Vice President and former Coinbase board member David Marcus. The company has posted numerous job listings for the team since, and notable figures in the space such as crypto economist Christina Catalini, a researcher with MIT, have also joined the project. The company is reportedly looking to raise as much as $1 billion for the project to use as collateral to back a stable coin. Stable coin. Oh, Jesus Christ. If it's a stable coin, I'm just going to laugh. Because stable coin... Okay, first I want to know how it's mined. Is it mined? And how are they maintaining their stability? Anyway, I'm going to dig around a little bit and see if I can find this thing during this next music break. But for the moment, let's go ahead and throw down into some music. And as far as where to go, it's got to be a little bit of Voivod here. iConspiracy, here on Coin Metal. And that was Meshuggah with Transfiction. And as far as where we're going to go next, I decided to do a little bit of digging into this whole Facebook coin business. And I think they had one previous iteration of this or something else that they were going to do, and it was somewhere during the I want to say towards the end of the alt bloom. The last alt bloom anyway. And let's see here. And so I've got this here on Cointelegraph.com. And this is by Max Body, May 16th, 2019. Polychain CEO says Facebook's rumored stablecoin blockchain should be public. This is, again by Max Body. Yesterday, apparently. But yes, penis. Polychain Capital CEO Olaf Carlson thinks Facebook would be smart to build the stablecoin on a public open blockchain infrastructure. Carlson Wee delivered his remarks at the Consensus 2019 panel, quote, "To the moon and back," on May 15th. Carlson Wee explained that the blockchain platform he is referring to is one like Bitcoin's, in which the creator relinquishes control over the platform they built. He argues that such an arrangement would be beneficial to the social media giant, saying, quote, "I think given all the problems that Facebook has had with policing their platform and things like that, I think the strategic move for Facebook would actually be to build a public infrastructure, and that public infrastructure could be incorporated onto the Facebook platforms, of which of course are proprietary. But public infrastructure, if they don't try to own it, I think that's where they will have the most success." Carlson Wee notes that an additional benefit would be that by relinquishing control over the platform, they would also avoid liability for controversy that takes place on the platform. He compares the situation to the creation of the internet. Quote, "The people that made the internet aren't responsible for everything that's said on the internet." The CEO continued to share a broader vision for cryptocurrencies in which they are used as a common and accessible store of wealth. He stated, quote, if big technology companies want to put their resources towards building public peer-to-peer crypto infrastructure, I would be ecstatic. Me too. As previously reported by Cointelegraph, an anonymous source told Bloomberg that Facebook will roll out its cryptocurrency, purportedly a stablecoin, sometime in the third quarter of 2019. Sources at Wall Street Journal say that Facebook is seeking investments up to $1 billion to fund the upcoming FB coin. Fuckbutt coin. Yeah, so anyway, the description of it is a quote-unquote stable coin. That kind of concerns me, because like the idea of associating a value in fiat currency or some other currency, it doesn't thrill me at all, especially if there's not actually any effort being made to mine the coin. You know, and again, it concerns me that they're talking about this sort of thing because, as we've seen previously, such expressions are things like cryptojacking, where they're just stealing some of your system resources and building their botnet out of it, you know. Anyway, I got more on this because I wanted to do a deep dive. You know, I want to find out as much about this thing as possible, because the last thing I want to do is spread a bunch of bullshit FUD, you know. So anyway, this one's on Bloomberg. Facebook is developing a cryptocurrency for WhatsApp transfers, sources say. This is by Sarah Fryer and Julie Verhage? Anyway, this is December 20th, 2018, 4:35 p.m. PST, Pacific Standard Time. So it's old, but apparently this was probably like the initiation of it or something, because, you know, it's right before the turn of the year. We're only month 5 into 2019, so it's reasonable. Anyway, continuing on. Facebook Inc. is working on making a cryptocurrency that will let users transfer money on its WhatsApp messaging app, focusing first on the remittances market in India, according to people familiar with the matter. The company is developing a stablecoin, a type of digital currency pegged to the US dollar, to minimize volatility, said the people, who asked not to be identified discussing internal plans. Facebook is far from releasing the coin because it's working on the strategy, including a plan for custody assets or regular currencies that would be held to protect the value of the stablecoin, people said. Oh, Jesus. So they're going to be mining in the background and funding it with your money in the background. Interesting. They're probably actually building it on Ripple instead of Ethereum. Facebook has long been expected to move in financial services after hiring former PayPal president David Marcus to run its Messenger app in 2014. In May, Marcus became head of the company's blockchain initiatives, which haven't been discussed publicly in detail. Facebook has been on a hiring spree and now has about 40 people in its blockchain group, according to the employee titles on LinkedIn. Quote, like many other companies, Facebook is exploring ways to leverage the power of blockchain technology, a company spokesperson said in a statement. This new small team is exploring many different applications. We don't have anything further to share. WhatsApp, the company's encrypted mobile messaging app, is popular in India with more than 200 million users. The country also leads the world in remittances. People sent $69 billion home to India in 2017, the World Bank said this year. The past year has seen a boom in crypto projects related to stablecoins. At one point, there were more than 120 ventures related to this theme, according to Stable.report, a website that tracks stable tokens. The concept was created to create a digital coin that would be far easier to use on daily purchases because it would be more stable than currencies like Bitcoin. Actually, they're just counterfeit US dollars and other currencies. The idea has proven tough to carry out in real life, with at least one high-profile project shuttered in recent weeks. A stablecoin known as Basis recently closed after 8 months. The Hoboken, New Jersey-based company said there was no apparent way around being classified as a security, as opposed to a currency, which could significantly reduce the number of potential buyers. The swift collapse came after Basis drew well-known backers like Andreessen Horowitz and Kevin Warsh, a former governor of the U.S. Federal Reserve. Perhaps the most high-profile stablecoin to date, Tether, has also been surrounded by controversy. While Tether's creators say each token is backed by $1 US, the company's refusal to be audited has raised questions about whether that's the case, which have been answered since then. Facebook, which has 2.5 billion global users, has more than $40 billion in annual revenue and greater experience navigating regulatory issues, may have a better chance of making a stablecoin that sticks. It would be the first large technology company to launch such a project. The company's relationship with India has been fraught, mainly because some instances of fake news spread through WhatsApp have led to violence there. Still, Facebook sees tremendous growth opportunity in the country. India has 480 million internet users, second only to China. The number is projected to grow to 737 million by 2022, according to Forrester Research Inc. So there you have it. I don't understand how it would really interact with WhatsApp. I mean, because the fact of the matter is, if I want to send you money now, I can. I mean, the simplest way is just to ask you for a public address for your wallet and have you post it somewhere. And I can either type it, or if you manage to put it up in a QR code form, I could scan it and send you money. It's that simple. So now what do I need Facebook coin and Facebook infrastructure in order to do that? I don't. As a matter of fact, I could use Facebook as it exists right now to send all kinds of money everywhere to all kinds of people for all kinds of reasons. You know, they have these marketplaces on Facebook, and if you really, really, really wanted to, you could post stuff there and associate a QR code to receive transactions with, and people could pay you, and you could send them stuff right there through Facebook. You know, send them an email through Facebook to send you a physical address. Bam, you have now engaged in internet commerce. Of course, you better follow through, otherwise they will report your ass, I'm sure. But the point being that there is too much money to be made simply in this form of commerce that I've just described to even bother with it. And I mean, imagine the volume of regulatory cruft you just avoided in that process. It's immeasurable. You know, not too long ago, as a matter of fact, a couple weeks ago at tops, somebody managed to move, I think it was like $230 million for less than $1 on the transaction fee. It was like 69 cents or some shit like that. Now, imagine that was for maybe a house or a boat or something like that, posted on Facebook. You know, they exchanged the title through some, I don't know, they go down to the mail store and exchange the title in front of a notary. It's completely legal. And of course, there would be, I'm sure there's some sort of registration exchange that has to happen and whatnot. But for the most part, you can avoid like 18 layers of intermediaries in the whole real estate process, the whole transaction of real estate or other property. You know, it doesn't have to be a house. It could be a boat. You know, it could have been a $200 million boat. We'll never know I don't think. But for all we know, that was a transaction that was facilitated through Facebook. No Facebook coin needed. Now, see, if Facebook were really smart, they would be doing one of two things. They would be providing you with mining software, discrete mining software that you can maybe put into your browser and voluntarily mine using your desktop and contributing to their payment network. What would be so bad about that? It's how Bitcoin works. For the most part, I'm sure there's some technical jive there in the middle, but the point being is it would be that simple for Facebook to go that way. Just put a little UI on their web page that notifies you, you want to contribute, say, 15% of your system resources. Yeah, it's going to slow you down a little bit. You might get a glitch while streaming or something like that, but for the most part, it'll be something you hardly notice. But it'll be making you money in the meantime. Provide an open public pool that not just users can connect to. Just maybe just miners. If Facebook coin becomes profitable enough to mine that way, instead of this whole stablecoin business. I noted this on I think it was Radio Underland. Yeah, I posted a link for that in a couple locations. I'll repost it again. But anyway, that the what was I going on? Oh, the exchange rate, the volatility that people keep bitching about. Most of the volatility is actually happening on the U.S. dollar side of the exchange rate, or the Japanese yen side of the exchange rate, or the Canadian dollars side of the exchange rate. Has absolutely nothing to do with Bitcoin. Bitcoin's still cranking out, 12.5 Bitcoin per 10 minutes. So there's nothing different on the release date there, or the emission rate. So obviously, if there's any major fluctuation between the interface between US dollars and Bitcoin, it's usually because it's something happening on the Federal Reserve side of the exchange rate, not Bitcoin. So it's not necessarily that Bitcoin is the quote-unquote volatile article in this exchange rate, that it is actually the US dollar. Personally, I believe that's far more likely, considering we've seen a great deal of shrinkflation over the last, I want to say, month or so. I've noticed a great deal of shrinkflation in the consumables that I've purchased. That you're getting less for your money, and you're probably even paying a little bit more for it than you did before. That's shrinkflation. That is fiat inflation. So when you see a reciprocating jump in the exchange rate between US dollars and Bitcoin, it could just as easily be said that you're watching fiat slippage, or slippage on the fiat side, not some sort of thing going on Bitcoin. But it was noted in this article, despite the fact this was written about 7 months ago, that Tether was surrounded by controversy. So this is nothing new. I mean, they're more entrenched in it nowadays, but this is like a precursor to that. And in the end, I think that they will get wrecked, either because they're conducting actual illegitimate and illegal activities, such as counterfeiting, which I believe they are. I mean, I understand the process, but nonetheless, it's supposedly representing US dollars, and it's not exactly exchangeable one-to-one for the average consumer with the US dollar. In which case, it's not a direct intermediary. You can't use it as a U.S. dollar. You can't go down to, Starbucks or something like that and buy a venti with USDTs. You just can't do it. But it's not Facebook alone that's getting into this idea of blockchains or proof or stable coins or proof of work coins. Personally, I think proof of work, specifically public proof of work coins, have the best chance of actually winning. Whether or not they have an association with Facebook or Amazon or Google or somebody else like that, I don't think that makes much of a difference. But I think that the public participation in the coin that mining enables, I believe that is the biggest strength. That is the biggest draw, and that's the biggest incentive to go with. Anyway, this is on Coindesk.com. Amazon wins patent for proof of work cryptographic system. And this is by Yogita Katari. And this is authored May 17th, 2019 at 10 UTC. And so, no penis. Tech giant Amazon has been granted a patent for various techniques to build proof of work POW cryptographic similar to those used by blockchains such as Bitcoin. First filed in December of 2016 and awarded Tuesday by the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, USPTO. The patent outlines how Merkle trees can be generated as a solution to a proof-of-work challenge, among other benefits. A Merkle tree structure allows for verification of data sent between computers on a peer-to-peer network, such as blockchains, is used to ensure blocks are not falsified. The concept dates back to 1979. Proof of work, on the other hand, is an algorithm that is used to protect networks by asking a service participant to do work, often involving using computer processing power to solve complex mathematical puzzles. The Bitcoin blockchain network, for instance, uses a proof of work algorithm with the work that is done by miners. In this case, Amazon says the Merkle tree creation is the work demanded by the algorithm. The patent explains, quote, a proof-of-work system where a first party, ergo a client computer system, may request access to a computing resource. A second party, ergo a service provider, may determine a challenge that may be provided to the first party. A valid solution to the challenge may be generated and provided for the request to be fulfilled. Quote, the challenge may include a message and a seed, such that the seed may be used, at least in part, to cryptographically derive information that may be used to generate a solution to the challenge. A hash tree or Merkle tree may be generated as of generating the solution, it adds. Proof of work could also help prevent denial of service and distributed denial of service attacks that frequently hit computer networks, Amazon says, explaining, quote, requiring a valid proof of work may mitigate a DOS or DDoS attack by causing the participants of the denial of service or DDoS attack to generate a valid proof of work solution, which may require the use of computational resources on attacking systems and dramatically reduce the rate at which entities participating in the attack may send requests. Elsewhere, the patent also mentions cryptographic key, digital signature, and public signing key, among other concepts related to blockchain and cryptocurrencies. The patent does not directly discuss blockchains or cryptocurrencies, however. While a much talked about Amazon cryptocurrency has so far remained elusive, the e-commerce giant has been moving further into the blockchain space. Earlier this month, its cloud computing arm, Amazon Web Services, AWS, launched its managed blockchain service for higher use among enterprise clients. The service currently supports open source framework, Hyperledger Fabric, while the support for the Ethereum network is still in the works and is expected to be made available later this year. Interesting. I would be eager to hear how they intend to intersect with Ethereum. Although, I don't know, I think that if they were just to do their own coin, they have enough users and vendors that really love Amazon to maintain a fucking proof of work network for them. Shit, they could buy the miners on Amazon.com and then mine Amazon coin with them. I mean, really, I'm not a major engineer, but I mean, I think that would work, or it could work. You know, that you'd be rewarded in some sort of award that they are willing to honor as money right there on their website. It'd be cool if you were allowed to trade it on exchanges too. Lots of potential there. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down into some music. And you know, I haven't gotten to any Death Clock tonight. And I love Death Clock. There's just something about them. You know, I don't know if it was the cartoon or what, but I like Death Clock. So here it is, Awaken, here on Coin Metal. And that was Killing Joke with Euphoria. And it's next in line here. I did a little sorting out, and it seems that Canada is preparing some new sort of framework, or thinking about some sort of framework, and I guess they're in the comment period right now, and so I guess Kraken stepped up and said, I don't think so. Anyway, so here it is on ccn.com. Kraken turns tables on Canadian regulators in 9-page rebuttal. And this is by Tedra Dessou. Let's check and verify something here. No. Okay. I'm trying to find out who Tedra is as far as male or female. No indication, though. So, I'm not going to try to attribute one. Anyway, this is authored on 5/17 of 2019. No indication of time or time zone. Anyway, continuing on. In a sternly written paper to the Canadian Securities Administrators and the Investment Industry Regulatory Organization of Canada, the crypto exchange explained its gripes. The two main regulatory bodies have proposed a security law framework that all exchanges would have to abide by, whether they liked it or not. Quote, Kraken strongly recommends against Canada imposing a security law framework on cryptocurrency exchanges in public response to the proposed framework for crypto asset trading platforms published by the CSA and IIROC. In March, the regulator pair released a consultation paper called Framework for Crypto Asset Trading Platforms. The industry had until May 15th to submit comments. Questions posed by the regulators related to risk mitigation, safeguarding investors' assets, and market manipulation and deception. Questions posed by the Kraken got to work on its response, delivering on the deadline day in a 9-page document, which we are going to go into. Defining securities. One of the proposed items Kraken takes issue with relates to how regulators would define securities. In their proposal, regulators state, however, security legislation may still apply to platforms that offer trading of crypto assets that are commodities because of the investor's contractual right to the crypto asset may constitute a security or a derivative. Kraken disagrees. Quote, the premise is faulty with respect to reputable exchanges. Most reputable exchanges operate as custodians or bailees. As such, the assets are legally owned by the customer and not the exchange operator. This means, critically, that the customer's interest is not derived from the underlying asset. It is the underlying asset. The application of securities law, a securities law framework accordingly, is both unnecessary and inappropriate to this structure. God damn, I couldn't agree more. Kraken calls out manipulation argument. Regulators are concerned about manipulation. Quote, platforms may be susceptible to manipulative and deceptive trading given the market volatility, lack of reliable pricing information for crypto assets, the fact that they trade 24 hours a day, and the fact that trading on many platforms is not currently monitored. Good. Regulators seem particularly worried about the nature of crypto trading, leaving the door open for, quote, manipulative and deceptive trading activities on exchanges. Calling it a, quote, unique challenge, the regulators said protecting investors was difficult because, quote, crypto assets trade on a global basis, on and off platforms, outside regular trading hours, and may be illiquid and highly volatile. They're not illiquid. How can they be fucking illiquid? They are money. God damn. This and the fact that there is currently no central source for pricing may affect the price of a crypto asset trading on a platform. Duh! This may also make it difficult to obtain reliable reference data that is needed to conduct effective surveillance. Now that is complete and utter bullshit. If you want to check any transaction that's happened on the network in question, you can. So this whole idea that there's no effective means of surveillance, it's bullshit. Fucking bullshit. Continuing on. Kraken found that regulator assertions aren't legitimate. I agree. Quote, regarding the assertion about the 24-hour trading cycle contributes to the risk of market manipulation, we would argue to the contrary. The fact that there are not artificial obstacles to trading, i.e. when the market is open, enhances price discovery, thereby reducing the risk of market manipulation. Quote, we believe that this risk is largely addressed by the functioning marketplace for exchange services. Moreover, as the market continues to evolve, we believe that security differentiators will become more significant from a competitive perspective. Yes, I'm excited about getting into this response because the fact of the matter is that Canada has gone from lax to, I guess, trying to strangle down on cryptocurrencies. And the fact of the matter is it's to their detriment. See, all of this stuff casts shade on Canada because the people that are interested in cryptocurrencies are looking at it and saying, well, they are really fucking cold and there really isn't a whole lot of people. And so we really could build a fucking data center out in the middle of nowhere and take advantage of that cold and mine some Bitcoin. Now that would create a great deal of economic activity within the borders of Canada and outside of Canada that it didn't previously have before. And they would be taking advantage of one of the resources that is the biggest pain in the ass and apparently quite profitable, quite valuable in mining, and that's cold. There was no other use for fucking cold before this. Now there's fucking use for cold, dude. And not only that, they have a shit ton of running surface water that can be utilized for generating electricity. So, cheap, virtually free electricity and cold. These are two big advantages in mining. So, why you would be trying to cast shade on yourself when you have that kind of competitive advantage in this space is beyond me. It's fucking stupid. You might as well just be pointing a gun out and saying, no crypto people allowed. Because of what this kind of thing signals to the participants that want to take advantage of your cold and your running water that currently isn't generating any electricity or any economic activity other than maybe the salmon runs or something like that, and bringing it to the world market. And you're telling them, hey, you know what? We could flip the switch tomorrow and make what you're doing illegal, or that we'll have to impose some major licensing bullshit on you, or some other regulatory bullshit on you. And that does not bode well for miners, because they have to look into the future. If they're going to throw a data center down and put some fucking ASIC miners in there, that's millions of dollars. If they're going to add to the infrastructure, either by investing in any kind of electricity infrastructure or any kind of internet infrastructure, they're willing to do that, But it comes at the cost of they got to be able to plan ahead of you. So, if you're throwing this kind of shade now, they're looking at it and they're saying, well, there's a really good chance that the market is going to change in an unfavorable manner the moment that we dig and set our fucking foundations for our data center. So, I don't think we want to do that because these people are obviously really greedy and they want to steal from us, and we don't want to do that. So we will go somewhere else that is both cold and has a lot of fucking running surface water, like maybe somewhere in Russia or somewhere in Ireland or Scotland or some shit like that, or Greenland or Iceland. Take advantage of that cold. That's what they'll do, though. And I've talked about this multiple times on this show, that Bitcoin is a game of incentives. And you have to take advantage of your incentives, or you are not going to be able to take advantage of the crypto market. It's just simply going to go somewhere else. And there is plenty of other fucking places for it to go. Where you don't want it to go, and what's probably least addressed so far in the stuff that we've covered today, is for people to decide, okay, you're going to be like that. I happen to work in a government office that doesn't have any visitors but maybe once or twice a week. I think I can fit a bunch of miners in here and steal electricity and bandwidth from my employer and mine on their network. Or mine off of their network. And that's already happened. We've already seen places where that's happened. A great deal of mining actually occurs in dorm rooms, specifically because of the price reduction they get on electricity. So, you cannot look at this information in the face and not see where the incentives will push this technology. If it cannot breed and exist in the public without significant friction, it will exist in the shadows. And you really don't want it there, because it can't exist without government. It can't exist without banks. All it needs is an ability to communicate with other nodes, and it's game on. And right now, those nodes could be generating a great deal of economic activity within your borders, but it can only do so if it actually happens within your borders. And that's only going to happen if you're not casting all kinds of shade, saying, hey, we're going to change the regulatory framework and impose all kinds of bullshit on the regulatory landscape tomorrow, potentially, and make this suddenly not very viable for you to mine within our borders. Personally, I would like to see mining become a more diffuse process. More people like you and me out there mining. Only because it would enhance the security of the network a great deal to have a higher distribution out there. It's the advantages of blockchains, that if you hit it in one place, it still exists somewhere else. Well, if it doesn't exist on your computer, that's one less place that it can exist that it probably should. Anyway, I got this article here. It's actually not an article, it's a PDF. And it is Kraken's response to the Canadian industry regulator, whatever. And I'll read the titles on this. It's authored May 15th, 2019, delivered via email and to comments at osc.gov.on.ca. Investment Industry Regulatory Organization of Canada, British Columbia Securities Commission, Alberta Securities Commission, Financial and Commerce Affairs Authority and of Saskatchewan, Manitoba Securities Commission, Ontario Securities Commission, Autorite des Marchés Financiers, Financial and Consumer Services Commission, New Brunswick, Superintendent of Securities, Department of Justice and Public Safety, Prince Edward Island. Nova Scotia Securities Commission, Securities Commission of Newfoundland and Labrador, Superintendent of Securities Northwest Territories, Superintendent of Securities Yukon, Superintendent of Securities Nunavut? I don't know. Anyway, continuing. RE Consultation Paper 21-402, Proposed Framework for Crypto Asset Trading Platforms. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on the Consultation Paper 21-402, Proposed Framework for Crypto Asset Trading Platforms. The Consultation Paper, published jointly by the Canadian Securities Administrators, CSA, and the Investment Industry Regulatory Organization of Canada, and together with the CSA and regulators, which seeks input from the public regarding how existing regulatory requirements should be adapted for crypto asset exchange platforms operating in Canada or that have Canadian participants. Payward Canada Inc., together with its affiliates, referred to herein as Kraken, operates an international digital currency exchange and custody platform. As an industry leader, Kraken supports efforts to ensure that the crypto marketplace is fair and orderly. That said, it is important to recognize, as the regulators have done, the difference between crypto assets that are securities under existing Canadian law and crypto assets that operate solely as a form of payment, which we referred to herein as cryptocurrencies. For the reasons explained below, we believe that the exchange platforms on which cryptocurrencies are traded, exchanges, should not be subsequently regulated under the framework applicable to securities or derivatives. We wish to provide input on several of the consultation questions asked by the regulators. The questions below reflect the numbering in the consultation paper. Part 2. Name of crypto assets and application of securities legislation. Question 1. Are there factors in addition to those noted in Part 2 of the consultation paper that we should consider? Answer. The jurisdiction over exchanges is premised on the concept that even if a cryptocurrency is not in itself a security, the contractual arrangement between the exchange user, whom we refer to as customer, and the exchange operator may be deemed to be a security or derivative. This premise implies that a customer's interests or holdings on the exchange are fundamentally different than the assets underlying the holdings, giving rise to risks that are separate and apart from those inherent to the asset itself. We respectfully disagree. This premise is faulty with respect to reputable exchanges. As described below, most reputable exchanges operate as custodians or bailees. As such, the assets are legally owned by the customer and not the exchange operator. This means critically that the customer's interest is not derived from the underlying asset. It is the underlying asset. The application of a securities law framework accordingly is both unnecessary and inappropriate to this structure. One thing, Kraken, I would hold exception with on that note for stable coins. Your hosting of them and allowing trading pairs of them on your exchanges, that's a point of contention there, because arguably the characteristics that you've noted here of securities would apply to Tether and so on. Continuing on. Operation of exchanges. Exchanges typically hold customer assets on their behalf, which assets are not used to fund the operations of the exchange operator. No commingling. Although there are, of course, variations in the market, exchanges typically hold customers' crypto assets in an omnibus wallet, which may consist of numerous addresses. All transactions are typically done, quote, off-chain, which means the ownership changes are represented only on the books and records of the exchange. Only when virtual currency is transferred off of the exchange or onto the exchange are transactions broadcast to the underlying public network. Models for fiat funding vary and include, quote, A, fiat held in segregated omnibus bank accounts held for the benefit of clients, and B, fiat held in individual client-owned bank accounts over which the exchange has contractual rights. Indica of direct ownership. Although each exchange may describe its operating model differently, there are a few key elements that suggest that the assets held by an exchange are owned by the customers directly as opposed to underlying a derivative interest. Number 1, contractual terms indicating that the relationship is in the nature of a custodial relationship. Number 2, the customer has the right to dispose of the assets at any time by transferring them off of the exchange. 3. Contractual terms governing establishment of the underlying asset. And number 4, with respect to bank accounts holding customer funds, tilting of the bank account is, or titling? Yeah, titling of the bank account is as a for the benefit of FBO or custodial account or similar wording. One final indica of direct ownership relates to market valuation. In general, if the market price of a crypto asset held on an exchange is consistent with the market price of that same crypto asset at other exchanges, that is strong evidence that the, quote, interest offered by the exchange is the underlying asset. In other words, features that are unique to an interest held at a particular exchange, such as lack of redeemability, value guarantees, or exposure to a pool of assets, should be reflected in the pricing of the interest. Accordingly, where the price of an interest held at an exchange is generally aligned and not just correlated with the value of the corresponding crypto asset on the broader market, it is likely that the customer's interest is in the underlying asset. We have set forth below commentary specific to the factors identified by the regulators in connection with securities law analysis. Number 1, whether the platform is structured so that there is intended to be and is delivery of crypto assets to investors. And number 2, if there is delivery, when that occurs, and whether it is to an investor's wallet over which the platform does not have control or custody. If customers cannot obtain actual delivery, this is the answer. If customers cannot obtain actual delivery of cryptocurrency held on an exchange, that may be an indica that the customer's interests are derivative in nature, i.e. that the customers have a financial instrument tied to the value of the underlying asset, but not to the asset itself, such as in the case of stablecoins. That said, we believe that the factors as described in the consultation paper place too much emphasis on how delivery currently occurs, as opposed to the customer's right to delivery to an address controlled by the customer. This is important because customers may elect to hold assets on platform. Assets held on platform generally are still available for delivery to an address controlled by the customer, which should be the key criteria. Specifically, most reputable exchanges permit customers to remove cryptocurrency from the exchange at any time. Whether investors' crypto assets are pooled together with those of other investors and with the assets of the platform, commingling. Answer. Clearly, commingling of assets where the platform operator uses customer assets for its own funding could be an indica of security interest. That said, we caution the regulators about concluding that there is pooling among customers based solely on the storing of multiple customers' cryptocurrencies in a single wallet. This omnibus structure is common at exchanges and reflects operational and security requirements rather than actual co-ownership of assets. Specifically, although a single address may hold cryptocurrencies in omnibus, the internal records of an exchange will reflect client ownership on an individual basis. Part 3. Risks related to platforms. Question 2. What best practices exist for platforms to mitigate these risks? Are there any other substantial risks that we have not identified? Answer. The consultation paper identifies numerous risks, including risks relating to safeguarding of private keys, risks relating to specific assets, conflicts of interest, and market manipulation. We have provided feedback on certain identified risks below. Investor crypto assets may not be adequately safeguarded. Answer. As the exchange marketplace evolves, there is increasing demand for assurances about internal controls. In response, many exchanges are in the process of pursuing SOC certification to assure customers and other stakeholders of the effectiveness of internal controls. As with other risks described below, the way that each exchange addresses internal controls will be a key competitive differentiator going forward. Although some exchanges may elect not to pursue SOC certification, we believe that the trend is in the direction of greater controls and transparency. As the public demands greater assurances regarding internal controls, the market will respond accordingly, and this risk will diminish. I believe they're correct there. Number 1, each crypto asset has its own functions associated with rights and risks. Number 2, investors may not have important information about the crypto assets that are available for trading on the platform. Number 3, investors may purchase products that are not suitable for them. Dude, if you're purchasing something and it's not suitable for you, that's your problem. That's not the fault of the exchange nor the underlying asset. Continuing answer. This risk is premised on the idea that government, and exchanges for that matter, is in a better position to assess an individual's risk tolerance than the individual. Regulators have often used a, quote, suitability model that is based on income or assets, thereby denying many financially or technologically sophisticated investors the ability to invest in accordance with their risk appetite. A more complex and nuanced approach to suitability runs afoul of the general ethos of the crypto industry, which supports broad, fair access to stores of value. Rather than focusing on how to protect people from themselves, we should advocate for educating people and allowing them to make smart decisions that meet their own requirements and risk tolerances. Oh my God, yes, Kraken. Yes, yes, yes. Question. Conflicts of interest may not be appropriately managed. There may be conflicts of interest between the platform's operator and participants who access the platform, including the inherent conflicts of interest where platforms act as as market makers and trade as principal. They're pretty much describing iFinex right there, but that's not everybody else, you know. Continuing on, answer. There have been numerous assertions of conflicts of interest at exchanges, most of which represent a misunderstanding in the mechanisms of cryptocurrency exchanges. These purported conflicts of interest include, number 1, proprietary trading by exchanges on their own venues. Number 2, trading by exchange employees on the basis of non-public information. And number 3, receipt of payment for listing. Proprietary trading by exchange. Although proprietary trading could have an impact of confusing customers about depth of liquidity on an exchange, it can function to stabilize otherwise thin and volatile markets. Specifically, some exchanges may conduct limited proprietary trading to add liquidity to their markets. allowing customers to receive a better price than would be otherwise available. It is important to note that an exchange doing such proprietary trading does not, quote, step in front of its clients, thereby depriving them of the ability to transact. The order book determines which orders are matched, so if a customer has a lower offer or a higher bid, those orders will be matched first. Trading on insider information. Unlike traditional securities markets where there is a significant amount of material non-public information generated, such as is the case of pending mergers, earnings announcements, and divestitures, information about decentralized networks is inherently public. Let me repeat that again. Information about decentralized networks is inherently public. There is no, quote, Bitcoin company that holds secret Bitcoin information. All of the information about the network, such as a proposed fork, is both publicly determined and publicly available. Material non-public information in the cryptocurrency marketplace is generally limited to advanced knowledge of an exchange's listing or delisting of a cryptocurrency, which likely would only move the market price for a very thinly traded asset. This risk is addressed by both exchange prohibitions on insider trading and the enforcement of laws regarding the same. Let's see where we're at. We've got time for one more answer here. Receipt of payment for listing. Answer. Although Kraken does not accept listing fees need not represent a meaningful conflict of interest. Listing fees are common for securities marketplaces and can be quite large. Although some exchanges may generate revenue from listing fees, in many cases, listing fees are assessed merely to cover the cost of supporting a new cryptocurrency, such as the development of secure wallet solutions. The problem with listing fees arises if there is an expectation that exchanges make merit-based decisions about the value of a particular cryptocurrency, beyond the ability to support it and the market demand for the asset. In that case, it can easily appear that the potential revenue from the listing fee outweighs the merit-based decision to list the asset. This is one of many reasons that we believe that exchanges should not be in the business of making merit-based assessments of cryptocurrencies and should clearly disclose the same. Yes. And manipulative and deceptive trading may occur. Platforms may be susceptible to manipulative and deceptive trading given the market volatility, lack of reliable pricing information for crypto assets, the fact that they trade 24 hours daily, and the fact that trading on many platforms is not currently monitored. Answer. In conjunction with a proposed rule change to list and trade shares of the Bitwise Bitcoin ETF on NYSE Arca, Bitwise Asset Management presented an extensive analysis of the global Bitcoin market, showing that it was far more orderly and less subject to manipulative trading tactics than previously understood. Specifically, the analysis concluded of approximately $6 billion in reported Bitcoin volume per day, 95% is fake and or non-economic wash trading. By applying various analysis to trading information such as trade size histograms, which look at the percentage of volume by each trade size bucket, trade volume by time, which looks at when trades occur, and spreads, the authors of the analysis concluded that a significant number of exchanges were reporting false volume. Critically, of the 10 exchanges that were not deemed suspicious, of which Kraken is one, Bitcoin prices were nearly uniform, indicating that any deviations were quickly arbitraged. This means that market manipulation on any of the quote true exchanges would be prohibitively expensive and practically impossible, as it would be necessary to manipulate the price on all of the true exchanges at the same time, lest the profits from the manipulation be arbitraged away. Unless, of course, you're doing it via a vehicle such as a stablecoin. I don't know, like maybe Tether? Regarding the assertion that the 24-hour trading cycle contributes to the risk of market manipulation, we would argue to the contrary. The fact that there are not artificial obstacles of trading, i.e. when the market is open, enhances price discovery, thereby reducing the risk of market manipulation. And again, I got to agree with that. That's very, very astute. System resiliency, integrity, and security controls may be inadequate. Well, yeah, we've seen that before. Security is clearly the most significant risk in the industry. The reputational costs of a hack are enormous, as are the direct costs of the hack itself. The magnitude of this risk has the effect, however, of closely aligning the interests of the exchange and its customers. An exchange that doesn't earn its customers' trust is unable to succeed in the market. In fact, the race to prove security represents a functioning market, providing customers the security they require at a cost they are willing to bear. To this point, immediately after Mt. Gox, major exchanges launched auditing initiatives to reassure customers that they had reserves supporting customer balances. Accordingly, we believe that this risk is largely addressed by functioning marketplaces for exchange services. Moreover, as the market continues to evolve, we believe that security differentiators will be more significant from a competitive perspective. I agree too. Anyway, we made it up to page 6, but we are going to have to draw this one to a close. I happen to believe that Kraken's perspective here is quite true to the market. One of the things that I've noticed about this market is that a lot of the transparency that's required or asked for by these people, regulators and whatnot, there's a greater level of transparency going on crypto Twitter concerning cryptocurrencies, exchanges, services, software upgrades, so on and so forth, than there is anywhere in the fiat currency circles. Period. There is no level of transparency differential there, man. There's fucking opaque as black, and then there is clear as the windows on your house. And crypto is transparent by comparison to fiat currencies. And as this article, or rather responses, as one of the response noted, the trust differential really isn't there with regard to cryptocurrencies versus fiat currencies, because we aren't necessarily in the same kind of rubric. I mean, when U.S. Bank has something going on in their background, there's nobody that's aware of it. Whereas if something is happening in the background here in cryptocurrencies, there's at least rumors of it going around on social media. And then, of course, later on they either prove to be correct or complete bupkis. Anyway, it is with that I'd like to close this one out. Thank you very, very much for listening. I certainly do appreciate the support. We will be back again on Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And so until then, I'd like you all to trade safe. Do your homework. And watch out for your own bunghole, because nobody else is going to do it for you. And as far as our last dance is concerned, I hadn't really picked anything else. As normal, that's normal on this show. I just do it, And, let's see, what should it be, though? Something quick. Something fast. Here we go. Open season. Exodus. Last Dance. Here on Coin Metal. Thank you again for listening, and you all have an excellent weekend.